All right, guys, welcome back to the show. I'm Titus, and I'm joined today by Thomas from Hoke Outdoors. You guys know him. He's been on here before, and I'm sure most of you watch his YouTube channel. Awesome channel and good friend. So we're not going to beat around the bush today. We're going to get right in this episode. He is driving, so if there's a little bit of background noise you guys get, I know we try to keep the audio pretty crisp on here, but I'd rather get him on the episode than not have him, because we all have insane, crazy schedules, and it's just so hard to link up with these guys. So, how are you doing today, Thomas?
Oh, good. Just spent a couple days down in North Carolina and head back up to Virginia now to get a couple more early goose season hunts in before I head on back up to Minnesota.
How's those snakes treating you?
This was my first time actually ever seeing a cottonmouth, so it caught me by surprise a little bit. We were running a little bit late this morning, went to hunt kind of a weird spot. I think it's an old dredge pond or something like that. And so we found it, scouted it a couple days ago, scouted it yesterday, saw 3 teal in there, and that was better than anything else we were seeing. So we went to go hunt it this morning.
Wow.
Ended up being kind of tough to get in. So we were just basically running in there and didn't really even think about snakes. And about 30 minutes after light, kind of started walking around just to kind of check the place out, and came across 5 or 6 cottonmouths in about 10 minutes. So,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, not somewhere you want to take a dog, I don't think.
No, I imagine not. And you said that was in North Carolina?
Yeah, North Carolina.
Okay. Actually, a lot of my family, on my mom's side, most of my family is actually from North Carolina, so I actually have a lot of roots there. We used to go back there all the time for family reunions.
Huh. Do you know what part of North Carolina?
Yeah, Greensboro.
Greensboro. Okay. Yep, I think I know where that is. Not too close to where we were, but
okay. Yeah, yep. That's where most of them live. A few of them live in South Carolina, but anyways, yeah, a lot of maybe that's why I like sweet tea so much. It must just be in my blood or something.
Yeah, absolutely. That stuff down there, they drink it like water.
Is not Virginia not that way with sweet tea?
I mean, it is, but you're kind of getting right onto that border. So I'd say like Northern Virginia is probably not quite that way, but Southern Virginia, it definitely is.
Gotcha. Well, how'd the hunt go? I mean, was it pretty slow?
The first day wasn't bad in terms of bird numbers. I mean, my buddy had scouted it the day before opener and said there was at least a few hundred teal in there, and possibly even closer to kind of 4 digits worth of teal. So there was a lot in it, but we got there. We were actually the first boat there, and it's a spot you have to boat into. It's a set of impoundments, and you boat in there and then kind of walk to the impoundments. And by the time basically there was a set time that you're allowed to go in there, 4 o'clock, and by the time 4 o'clock rolled around, there was 10 boats in the little channel. So everybody basically tried to pile in like 250 yards on top of each other, and we were the first ones in there. And we ended up having a group set up about probably 80 yards to our right and 60 yards to our left. So kind of hard to decoy birds when people are that close. So we ended up shooting a handful, but I think if we were to do it again, we probably just would scrap that whole plan altogether and go hunt something with like 3 teal on it instead, and just kind of try to have more of an enjoyable time while doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, Kirk McCullough, I don't know if you know who that is, but he came on the podcast not long ago, and he said something I never thought of, honestly. And he talked about going places where there's less birds, meaning there's going to be less people, and having a better time. And I was like, man, I really never thought of that like that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about him saying exactly that while we were sitting there before shooting light, because my buddy Nolan, who came down with me, he kind of said the same thing. Like, even if we do shoot a bunch of teal, it's just not going to be very enjoyable, because we ended up teaming up with 2 other guys, so we had 6 guns, which, I mean, everybody was cool. Everybody, was safe. There was no really issues with any of that, but just having 6 guns in a blind is never the most enjoyable thing. And
right.
we watched people sky bus. We got to hear other people talking. It just wasn't a very enjoyable hunting experience overall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and that's like I said, it's not like that every time in California, but there's certain times of the year, certain refuges, it happens, it's not like that all the time, or it'd make you almost want to quit, but yeah, it's just not, it's really hard, and I think when people misunderstand me when I say stuff about, oh, you can't decoy birds in California, that's not what I'm saying at all. I've decoyed plenty, but when you got guys 80 yards from you, 150 yards from you, all the way around you, how is that? Why would anybody say they're a better person if they think they could do that? You're just not really going to do that.
Yeah.
Or
that was,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we were actually set up right on the X. Like, we were set up exactly where my buddy had seen the majority of the birds the day before, but because we had people in every direction, the birds just never had a chance to make it to us. And we actually shot the majority of our birds after like 9 o'clock, when other people had started to filter out of there, and that was the only chance we had where birds were actually able to even make it to our decoys without getting shot at. We had some birds swing. We had some birds that were swinging our decoys that would have come into us and got shot on the swing. So that's probably the most frustrating when that happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what's crazy, that I don't know where that term swing birds, because that's what we'll say. Like, they shot birds off the swing. And like, when you have to say swing, you already know there's people too close to you, because you should never really have to deal with people shooting a bird that's swinging off of you. You know what I mean? But that happens all the time when you're in tight on top of each other. Yeah,
especially with teal. Teal work the decoys so tight. It's not like they're like a big duck who takes these big old wide swings. I mean, someone's really way too close when someone's shooting your swing birds on teal in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. But in general, I mean, like, besides the cottonmouths and people being on top of you, I guess was that your first experience hunting in North Carolina?
No, I've hunted down here the last couple of years. It was my first experience teal hunting down here, and definitely my most successful teal hunt, I guess, if you're just going by bird numbers. But I'd say the highlight of the trip was actually Nolan and I went out this afternoon and caught a bunch of flounder, and that was fun. We didn't see anybody else out at our fishing spot, and caught some fish and just had a relaxing time. So that was probably the most enjoyable part of it. But it was fun. It was something to kind of just check off the bucket list. I don't think I'll ever hunt that spot again that we hunted on opener, but the spot we hunted today was pretty cool. And I think once things cool off and you don't have snakes, and we actually saw gator tracks in there too. So when you don't have snakes and gators around, I think it'll be a pretty cool spot to hunt in the future, maybe. Right.
Yeah. No, I mean, like you said, it's there's some places that you'd want to go back to, and some is just for the experience. But the whole point is the journey, right? Like, that's what it's all about. So.
Yep. It was an adventure, and I think we both kind of came down here just looking for an adventure and didn't have super high expectations. So I think we both got kind of what we were looking for there.
Sweet. And that's a good way to look at it too, like a positive attitude behind it. Because, man, if you don't keep that, and I think that's what I try to do, is when I go somewhere new, I try not to get my hopes up too high, because then you don't get that down, bummed out feeling. Instead, like you said, make it as the journey and enjoy the whole process, because this is what we wait for 9 months to get back to, and that's what's the fun part. It's not just shooting birds, obviously.
Yep, absolutely.
But, well, what's next on the agenda?
I think I'm going to try and sneak in 1 or 2 more goose hunts or dove hunts in Virginia. Teal opens on Saturday here, but if North Carolina is much more of a waterfowl hotspot than Virginia, and North Carolina really didn't have many teal at all besides that one particular spot. We scouted a good bit of the state and didn't see hardly anything. So if there's not much in North Carolina, I don't hold out much hope for Virginia. So just probably goose hunting, dove hunting, and then I'm going to probably be headed back up to Minnesota here Monday or Tuesday, I believe.
Okay. So does he just give you some time off to hunt, or do you contract? Like, how's that? Can you kind of explain that, what you got going on there with him in Minnesota and the company and all that?
Yeah. So I work for DRC Calls up there. It's a little family. It's owned by Corey Loeffler. He, the owner and operator of it, based in Northwest Minnesota, and I've been worked for him last summer. Enjoyed it so much that I decided I wanted to go up there again this summer after I finished up school, and I've really enjoyed it again this summer. So he lets me have a super flexible schedule. He's really understanding with wanting to go back and kind of do some of my favorite hunts from home. I really enjoy the dove hunting in Virginia. Those goose floats are really fun. So he basically just told me, go back home and get back up here whenever you can. And so I kind of had my fun at home, and I'm ready to get back up there and get back to work and do some hunting up there as well.
So what are you doing for him, Thomas? It looks like you're doing more. I'm thinking calls and stuff, but it looks like you're doing some farming stuff too, maybe, or something. Some habitat.
Haven't done much habitat stuff. I'd like to get into it, but the laws in Minnesota surrounding it are actually kind of weird. So I need to do some more looking into that. But yeah, I mean, it's really all sorts of different stuff. That was what intrigued me about it when I first applied for the position, was that there were so many different things that he does with the business, so that I'd get to learn about. So we make calls out of cast acrylic, so we're starting with an acrylic rod and going all the way till making a finished duck and goose call. So there's that whole process, and then I'll also do a lot of stuff with social media and marketing, customer service, really all that sort of stuff. So I've got to really get to be involved in all parts of the business, which has been a blast.
Yeah, I imagine. That's something that we have a guy that I talk about all the time as JJ Lurs. I would love to just go hang out for a couple days up there and learn stuff with him. Not to do my own thing, but just to get hands-on on something I love so much, like calls, and stuff like that. I think that'd be a blast.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really, I feel like, made me a more proficient duck hunter too, because a lot of people just look at calls and it's this thing that goes quack and they don't really know how it all works. And it's like, now I know exactly how they work, and if I ever have a problem with any of mine in the field, I can make a quick adjustment and fix it. So it's definitely given me a lot of skills that I never thought I would learn.
And Corey is a really good caller, goose and duck, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So have you taken any instruction from him? Have you guys did that at all, or not really?
Yeah, he's definitely given me some pointers. I try to, we're tuning calls a lot of the time, so I just try and listen to him and pick up off those type of things. Calling is one of those things. It's like someone can explain something to you 100 times, but until it clicks for you, there's really nothing that they can do for you. So he's helped me with some of the fine points and stuff like that, but just to learn how to blow a call and be good at that call, all it is just practice and repetition and building up that muscle memory. So he's helped me out as much as I can, and I just have to put in the time to really take it to that next level.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, because you started working with them last year, and you'd correct me if I'm wrong, because I could totally be wrong. Maybe it's something you started doing on your own, but I feel like last year your calling went to a different level in your videos. Do you think that's because you started working on it harder, or just different call, or am I mistaken there? Did you feel you did too?
A little bit of both, for sure. My goose calling, I still think it has a ton of work. I still have a ton of work to do, but I feel like the goose call that he gave me, which was a life sentence, is actually, he designed it for beginner goose callers, and it's just so easy to break over that it expanded the amount of notes that I was able to make almost overnight just by using that call. And then I picked up quite a few duck calling pointers from him, and he has a really good duck call as well, the Rev. So just using his calls and then some pointers is probably about 50-50, I'd say, overall.
Yeah, and that's what I was referring to because I'm not a goose caller myself. I can do a couple notes, but that's it. I haven't put in a ton of time on honkers, but on your duck calling, I feel like I'm not saying you're bad or anything. I'm just saying it sounds like, I was like, man, he seems like the calling went up and quite a few notches, it seemed like, I thought.
I appreciate it.
But I mean, on myself, I'm never claimed to be a good caller myself, but I feel like I mean, I've been duck hunting for a long time, but I never like put hard effort into really trying to get better. And I think the more that you do, the more you realize how you're not that good. You know what I mean? If you get to, you're like, oh, I'm good, I'm fine, whatever, what I do right now. But then when you try to really like, okay, I want to be better, then you're like, man, I got a long ways to go, you know? And yeah, you could kill a duck without really knowing a lot of stuff, and you can blow it and get by. But I don't want to be like that, right? I want to try to be the best I can. And that's another thing that's kind of triggered something in my head is like calling for honkers and for specs. We have a lot of specs in California, and I've never really been on any situations where I could get much action in either one of those geese. But I'm like, you know what? One day it will happen probably, and if I don't have any skill set now, then I'm going to look stupid because I don't know how to blow either one of those, so I've been working on those too. You know what I mean? I think if you're going to be an all-around waterfowler, I think we need to do the best we can and try to, you know, maximize our skill set.
Yeah, absolutely. It never hurts to be familiar with a type of calling that you're not actually necessarily using. I think, especially just, you know, it's obviously going to help you with just the lung part of calling. So it never hurts to practice those sort of things.
Yeah. Now, how about them wood duck decoys from Final Approach? Did those got you all pumped up?
I haven't even got my hands on them yet. I've seen them. I was really excited about them, but I haven't got my hands on them quite yet. I think they should be coming next week when I'm up in Minnesota. So, I'm pumped up about those. They look really good, so I'm excited to get my hands on them.
Yeah, guys, check those out. They're live on the website now. Buy them out before Thomas can get his hands on them. That's what they would say from the company point of view. Like, just buy them up. We don't care. But no, I'm just teasing. You should go check them out. I think they're $100 for 6. It's 4 drakes and 2 hens. They just put it out on their Instagram, so you can check it there, Facebook as well, and YouTube. So check out Final Approach. Yeah. I think me and Thomas agreed that Thomas asked me today, my brother, he said, if you had to work with anybody, which we work with Final Approach, both of us do, but he goes, legitimately, if you had to work with anybody on the market for decoys, who would it be? And I said, I'm not lying or saying this, and this is a personal conversation between me and him, right? Yeah. I said, if you're to take somebody that's an all-around decoy company that has all the decoys, I mean, there may be some that aren't out yet, but for the biggest mass, a variety of birds with the best quality, 100% hands down Final Approach. You may have one, they're like, oh, I like their mallards, you know, those mallards look good, or those divers look good, but if you were to take every single decoy and line them up and say who's the best, I mean, to me, hands down Final Approach is what I feel like.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm really excited to see where they go too. I mean,
I'm too.
The lineup that they have right now is great, and the fact that they don't even have any diver decoys yet is really exciting to me, because I think, you know, if their diver decoys are following in the same line as the wood ducks and the cinnamons and everything else, I think they're going to be really something special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you happen to? I know you're not shooting cinnamons over there, but did you happen to get to see those in person?
I have not. No, okay. I might. I think I'm gonna try and do another trip down to Texas this year, so I might try and grab some of those before I head down there.
Yeah, I can't wait to use them this year. I mean, it's not that I know us duck hunters always think, hey, we can get more of these birds in if we use these decoys, which I don't really think that. I don't know. It might have more of a place than I think, but for the most part, I don't think so. But the pop. You know, the pop of that red in there, and knowing that those birds are around, brings more of that realistic setting there for, you know, birds around here. So, still gonna look sweet. Is all I can say. Yeah,
no, they look great, and it's a color that you're not gonna get in any other decoys. So, it's something unique for sure. I'd be interested to see if maybe you try this season just hunting over a spread of cinnamon decoys and see what all birds you have come into that.
I know. That might be, we're not all big on challenge videos. None of us are, myself or you, but that might be an interesting little video to use only cinnamons on a hunt and see what happens. I'd be kind of curious.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would just be an interesting test.
Yeah. Because, I mean, we all want to know, right? Will that make a difference? So
Yep, absolutely.
might be something I have to do. But so you mentioned Texas. You've already did North Carolina. You're going to hunt in your home state, Virginia, and I'm assuming you'll probably hunt in Minnesota maybe too. So like, what's all your plans this year?
I think I'm gonna try and check out some new areas, but I'm not gonna travel as much as I had originally planned. At the end of last season, I was kind of excited. I was gonna be done with college this year and get to do a lot of traveling, but gas prices have come up and the cost of everything's come up. So I'm definitely still gonna try and travel some, but I'm gonna be working up in Minnesota pretty much until they have 4 or 5 foot of snow on the ground and all the hunting's done, and then I think I'll come back to Virginia and do some hunting around here and maybe do some trips later in the season. Hopefully, once gas prices start to come down. But it'll probably just be Minnesota and maybe a little bit of North Dakota hunting here for October and November, and then probably mainly Virginia for December and maybe a little bit of traveling in January.
Okay. That's the time of year to do it for sure, in traveling purposes.
Yep, absolutely.
So, how do you? I'll let you go here in just a minute. We're trying to keep this at 30 minutes, but what's your thoughts? How do you feel about Texas duck hunting?
I don't want to tell everybody that it's just incredibly easy and everybody should go there, but
right.
I think it probably follows the same vein as the Central Flyway in general. You just have lower population density and more birds, so it just feels like it's easier to find tucked away areas that have birds in them. The thing that I've noticed about North Carolina in particular is they have lots of birds down here, but never found a single spot in North Carolina that had birds and did not have someone else scouting it or someone else hunting it. I mean, it's just there's so many people that hunt that it feels like it's nearly impossible to find that tucked away spot that no one else knows about. So that's kind of my feelings about Texas, is that finding those kinds of spots is a lot easier. And then the coolest thing about Texas is just the variety you can get because it's such a big state. You can go up to the northern part and shoot your mallards and pintails and all sorts of big puddle ducks. Then you can go down to the coast and shoot divers and snows and all sorts of kind of saltwater species. And then you can go down to South Texas and shoot teal and whistling ducks and stuff like that. Excuse me. So it's just the variety. I think that's the coolest part of it all.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like, I mean, I've hunted Idaho, Washington, Kansas. We did Canada before. I've never been to Texas. Never hunted on the East Coast yet. I mean, there's tons. I got tons of places to hunt left, but I think what it is, Thomas, like you're saying, you're not trying to like, oh, it's the best ever in the world, but getting a different experience, being at a new location you've never been to and having success, it really does kind of light you up, you know what I mean? So what's cool is there's so much out there though, like just here on the West Coast, like I was always wanting to go Midwest or back east, and I'm like, my goodness, I haven't even scratched my own neck of the woods. I need to work these areas first before, New Mexico, Nevada, before I start worrying about going so far across the nation to hunt. I got tons of stuff that's untouched for me out here.
Yeah, absolutely. Within Texas is that I found really enjoy hunting, and that hunting's been really good in. And it's, there's so much of Texas that I still want to explore, but it's hard to leave that area that you kind of have tried and true success in.
Yep. Yeah. Because you pay those dues, and that's obviously what gets you more spots. But then again, when you're making a big drive like you're making, you got to kind of leverage your time while you're there. So I definitely get that.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's kind of what's nice going. Go ahead.
I was just going to say one of the other things I really like about I think it's the whole Central Flyway in general, is that you really get to see good habitat be utilized. Like one of the, I'd say, depressing parts of hunting on the East Coast is that there's so much good habitat that the birds just never utilize because there's just not enough birds. And so it's cool to see out there when you have good habitat, you always have birds on it.
Really?
So yeah, and it's interesting to see, and it's taught me a lot about what birds particularly like, because there's enough birds where you can really dissect it. So like, well, there's a smartweed bed over here, and that only has 10 birds on it, and then there's a grass mat over here, and that's got 200 birds on it, and that'll tell you a lot. Versus in Virginia, or just the East Coast in general, feels like you're working with a lot smaller sample sizes.
Gotcha. All right. Well, man, I don't want to kind of tell us where everybody can find you. You're cutting out a little bit right at the end, some maybe bad area or something, but like tell us everywhere, Thomas, they can find you if they don't already know. I'm sure most do, but at least give those that don't.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just Hoke Outdoors, and I'm on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook these days. And I really appreciate you having me on, Titus. Glad we could knock it out, and we need to get you on the foul front here soon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I mentioned that too when I have the episodes, because we're all kind of interrelated, like the Duck Gun podcast and Outdoor Limits podcast and foul front too. So, man, I know we could talk for 2 hours, but at least just wanted to get you on and kind of see what's going on, get an update, and share with everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right, man. Drive safe, and thanks for coming on.
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
All right, buddy. We'll see you on the next episode.